for us, the first core principle of this business is to have been built using the very latest technology, not using any old systems, but building our own system from scratch that leverages not just the general technology developments that have been in play, but also the fact that artificial intelligence gives the consumer so much more value so much quicker. And so we can leverage the technology to enable convenience, literally do insurance with just the click of a button in a minute or two. And of course, that means savings. Like, because we don't have people manually doing things, everything happens automatically.
Today we are joined by Ernest North, the co-founder of local insurtech firm Naked Insurance. Ernest joins us as the company turns 5. I think it launched in 2018. And I met Ernest back in 2019, just after Naked Insurance had been launched. So today we want to hear more about the journey that they've traveled since 2018, just to hear the major milestones that they have accomplished during this period. Welcome to ITWeb, Ernest.
Thank you, Admire. It's really nice to be chatting to you again.
Yes, just going back, Ernest, to 2019 when we first met, you had just launched. Are you still a startup company, or you are now a big firm?
It's an interesting question, and certainly at some stage we should stop using the term startup, because we started a long time ago, and we're certainly not a small business anymore. We employ lots of people, and we've got lots of customers, and certainly, obviously, the impact of the business has been big. So I think from that sense, we've graduated from being a startup. That said, we think that core to our DNA and why we exist and how we do business is to always remain a challenger and to always remain innovative in especially how we use technology. And so we see ourselves very much as a technology business that needs to keep innovating. And although we've successfully made it past these first 5 years, which is obviously a big milestone for the business to have grown significantly and to be almost operating on an ongoing basis now, we feel that there's still a long journey ahead. And we feel that in the bigger picture, there's certainly lots of innovation that still needs to happen.
Awesome. Tell us about these past 5 years, Ernest. What have you learned during these past few years, and what are the major milestones that we have accomplished during this period?
I think some of the major milestones include the fact that when I last spoke to you, when we just launched, we were only car insurance. And so what we've managed to do is to extend our product offering from just car insurance to also include home insurance. So that refers to both the building as well as the home contents. But what we've also done is innovated in terms of giving consumers the ability to insure a single item. So if you don't want to have a full home contents insurance policy, you can just insure a cell phone or a laptop or a surfboard. And so I think a major milestone for us has been expanding that product range and giving consumers that choice of which covers they need access to. Then, of course, the obvious thing that happened in the last 5 years is the big challenging period that all of us had to go through in 2020 and 2021 in terms of going through COVID. And I'm really proud of the business really going through that transition and growing significantly during that period. And I think it refers to both our ability as a business to operate and have our people, especially our software developers and our customer support agents, being remote and working predominantly from home. Every now and then, some of them still come into the office, but for the most part, the bulk of the team works from home most of the time. So I think that transition was positive. But I think equally as positive was that I think the COVID period accelerated digital adoption in general amongst consumers. And so we saw the take-up of people willing to do their transactions online without speaking to a call center or without meeting a broker face-to-face. That adoption certainly accelerated during COVID. And I think that for me is probably the most significant milestone or the shift in terms of the business being validated that this is the new business model, the way people want to transact, and for us to run as a successful commercial entity, the ability for us to service people like that has been validated. And so it certainly has been an exciting ride over the last 5 years. And I think then also worth saying something that is close to my heart personally is the fact that, and we can talk about it more, but the fact that our business is not just a technology business. Our business has this other element called the naked difference, where our primary goal is to deliver insurance that actually works. And one of the ways in which we do that is in years when claims were lower than we had expected, the money that is left over does not remain as profit. That money gets paid out to communities and to good causes that our customers choose. And so I think for me, which is a real sign of success over the last 5 years, is the fact that that business model has been proven in terms of consumers enjoying that benefit of the insurance actually delivering, because our incentives are changed. We don't have a profit incentive when we think about your claim. So our consumers have benefited from that fundamental change of the business model. But also importantly, the communities have benefited. And for us to have paid millions of rands to well-deserving causes in the years where in certain segments, in certain type of claims, the claims were lower than we had expected, especially in the 2020 period when obviously cars weren't driving for a long period. That bump in profitability didn't benefit us. It benefited good causes, which was really, really rewarding for us.
Awesome. Also, since you are here, I don't think I asked you the last time. The word naked, how did it come about?
It's certainly an interesting question, and we often get told by people that they think it was a very clever marketing move because it's something that you'll remember easily. To be perfectly honest with you, we did not think about the marketing potential of that word when we decided to call the business naked. It was a word that when we thought about it, it so clearly and so accurately described what we are about in terms of, first and foremost, making insurance transparent, removing conflict of interest between the insurance provider and the client, just removing all the bad associations that people had with insurance in the past because it was full of surprises. And so making insurance clear and transparent was core to what our mission is about. Naked describes that, but also making insurance easy and convenient and without the frustrations of a long phone call or a long piece of paperwork with a broker. Removing those inefficiencies and ultimately also removing unnecessary costs. Just stripping insurance down to what you need and giving it to you at the very best possible price. All of those words, when the word naked was suggested, it just felt so right. And then
Who
afterwards,
suggested it?
It was actually my partner, Sumari Kreiber. She came up with the word, and we'd been going for months. We had a whole bunch of other suggested names by professional people. People that are really good at marketing had suggested a whole bunch of other names. I look back at some of those names now, and I'm very grateful that we didn't go for those names. But then at one day she said, but she doesn't like that those names don't mean anything. And we should rather be like deliberate and clear in giving the business a name that we can be proud of. And what's nice now is that word really guides us on a daily basis as we think of decisions in the business and we think of how are we going to treat customers that are in a certain situation or in that situation. We ask ourselves, is that the naked way? Are we being naked if we treat customers like this or like that? And that word has become so core to our identity. And of course, we're glad that simultaneously we can have some fun with it on the billboards.
Exactly. Speaking about billboards, I think on my way driving here, I come across 2 billboards. First one is in Hendrik Portgita down there. Then there's another one just down the road here in Rivonia Drive. I'm sure you are putting in a lot of money to market your product. Can you just give us maybe an indication of how much you have used to market naked insurance out there?
So we see ourselves as because we are primarily a digital business. I mean, we're a tech business that allows consumers to do everything online without ever speaking to a call center. So, being a tech business, we think it's important for the fact to back up the fact that our product is exclusively digital. So consumers do everything online without ever speaking to a call center. And we felt important to use the majority of our advertising money to then also speak to consumers on a digital platform. And so we try and become increasingly better at showing ads in a digital manner to the right consumers. That's part of the benefit of digital advertising, is that you don't waste money showing your ads to everybody. You can target them at the right people that you think are most likely to get benefit from them. So that's where we spend the bulk of our advertising money. But that said, as you say, you see now billboards out, and you may hear a radio ad now and then. All those things are necessary, given that insurance as a product is one where the consumer needs trust. And so we need to be able to demonstrate that our brand has become big enough and we've grown up enough that this business is something that you can take for real. And if you need your 10 million rand house insured, we want to deal with a business that has been around for a while, and that's why a 5-year anniversary is very important to us. But we want to deal with a business that can compete with the bigger established brands that are out there. And it's important for us that we don't want to spend as much money on advertising as our big competitors do. You see their name everywhere. You see them sponsoring everything. You see them on the radio. You hear them on the radio the whole time. It's important for us that we don't want to spend as much money as that, because ultimately spending too much money on advertising means the premiums need to be higher. So we want to try and keep advertising as low as possible. But there is a minimum spend that one needs to do. And at the end of the day, that is a significant portion of when we raise new capital, we get new investment, a significant portion of that investment goes towards paying for advertising, because we need to signal to the broader community. I mean, especially in Joburg, where we started, lots of people heard about us through word of mouth, and that continues to be a very powerful tool that helps us grow very quickly. But to accelerate that across the rest of the country, but also to supplement it by signaling credibility, we do spend a lot of money on advertising.
Awesome. If you can just also tell us, like earlier on you said you are a challenger in the market. How have you revolutionized the South African insurance industry? I know you have got a background of coming as actuaries from one of these big insurance firms. What have you learned from those companies, and what have you done better as naked insurance to change this industry as we know it?
I think the two things really that we see as core to what we're trying to build, inherently it is ultimately ending up as challenging the older generation, but that's not our focus. Our focus is on what are we building and how can it serve consumers best. The two ways in which we're fundamentally different, number one is technology. And so we saw that the majority of insurance companies are running on systems which were built in the 70s or 80s or 90s, and even a system built in the early 2000s uses technology that is pre the smartphone era. And so for an insurance system to be built on a platform and using technology that is 20 years old means that you can't genuinely service the average consumer that wants to have a fully digital smartphone experience. And so many of those businesses, or most of those businesses, have some digital presence, some form of website presence or app. But ultimately, at the end of the day, in 99% of those cases, you end up speaking to the call center again, because their systems were designed to have that level of human layer, that layer of human intervention in between. And so for us, the first core principle of this business is to have been built using the very latest technology, not using any old systems, but building our own system from scratch that leverages not just the general technology developments that have been in play, but also the fact that artificial intelligence gives the consumer so much more value so much quicker. And so we can leverage the technology to enable convenience, literally do insurance with just the click of a button in a minute or two. And of course, that means savings. Like, because we don't have people manually doing things, everything happens automatically. Those cost savings going to lower premiums. So we see ourselves first and foremost as a technology business. But like I said, with the naked difference, the second core part of how we see ourselves as being fundamentally different to old school insurance is this business model of not seeing ourselves as a profit generating entity at the expense of clients. A traditional insurance company, even if they have good people working there, they have a fundamental problem in this conflict of interest, in that every time you pay a claim, you think in the back of your mind, now our profit is going down. And unfortunately, that has contributed to some of the ways in which people are being treated and some of the ways in which consumers feel they are often in competition with their insurance company. And for us to have made the shift to say, we're a technology business. We don't want to make money from insurance. We're a technology business, so we take a fixed percentage of every premium. And we want to get hundreds and thousands and millions of customers using this platform, and we'll take a fixed percentage of each one of those premiums. That's how we're going to make money. We don't want to make money by not paying a claim. If it turns out in some years that we paid less claims than we'd anticipated, it's fundamental for our business that we rather pay that money back to community.
If you can just maybe shed more light about the technology behind Naked. You were saying you are saying there's no call center in there, but I understand some individuals prefer to talk to a human being rather than in a bot or something along those lines. What do you do to cater for those kind of people who need to talk to an individual to have that, human interaction?
I think it's a good question because humans want some human connection from time to time. And especially in the case of insurance, you are thinking about the scenario where something bad happens. And so you want to be sure that will get the support that you need. So what we have is we have a customer support team. And the customer support team is available for chat on the app or for chat over email. Or if you really want to, you can call in. So you can speak to a customer support agent. There's of course also 24-hour assistance. If you're stuck on the side of the road, you can call and you can get support at the side of the road. But the customer support team is there to, if you are in need of human assistance or you want to speak to a human just to ask some questions, you can do that through our customer support team. What we found though is that almost all consumers want to be able to do things with just the click of a button. And they want the fallback of speaking to a real human to be an option, not the default. And so what we said is our product is exclusively for sale on a digital basis. So you can only quote with us on the website or the app. You can only buy the cover on the website or the app. You can't call our call center and ask them, please give me a quote for this and this and this. Because actually, our bot on the website and the app can do it so much quicker than a human can. If you still have questions, you can speak to the human, but 99% of our customers don't have questions. They go through that digital journey and they feel comfortable and they buy. And then because they were comfortable buying the product like that, they then also feel comfortable changing and using the policy on an ongoing basis like that. So if you are changing address and your car will be parked at a new address, you make that change on the app. If you feel that you don't have budget for the high level of excess you previously chose and you need to lower your excess, you do that on the app. And of course, importantly, if you need to claim, you do that on the app. So 99% of our customers feel comfortable doing it like that. Obviously, if they have a question, that's why the support team is there. Now, when we started building this business, we were of the opinion, and we were debating this number a lot, that we think we could service 30, maybe 40% of the market. So when we started building 6 years ago, we were of the opinion that 30 or 40% of people will feel comfortable doing insurance like that. And we said, if there are some people that are not comfortable, that's fine. Then we're not for them. They must stick with their broker. We've changed that outlook now in that almost 95% of people that we speak to say they are 100% comfortable doing insurance this way. They enjoy the convenience. They enjoy the transparency that comes with this. So rather than sitting on the phone listening to something, but actually you're not listening anymore, you're just trying to get through the conversation. When you're doing it on the app, you see everything right there. The important information is communicated very clearly. So people enjoy the fact that this gives you more convenience, this gives you better insights, you've got more transparency, and the prices are lower. So why not? And there are still the 5% of customers out there that don't feel comfortable with it. And for them, we're not going to be everything to everyone. For those kinds of people, I think there are some good insurance brokers in South Africa, and you can continue using those brokers. We're not going to be servicing those people. We're sticking very disciplined to the fact that our business is a digital business. And as I say, it's quite interesting how radically the take-up and the level of comfort that people have with doing business this way has accelerated in the last 4 or 5 years.
So how many users would you say you now have as Naked Insurance? Like subscribers to the app? Maybe?
Yeah, so as a private company, we don't disclose the exact numbers. We're in a competitive environment, both from both our competitors wanting to ask that question very often, but also from a fundraising invest. So we've got some international investors now, and we've got quite a few other investors that are very interested in this business. And as part of that process, they make sure that we're not disclosing things which is diminishing their chance of having the best possible investment. So I can't say the exact numbers that we have. What I can say is we measure ourselves by how many new policies we sell every month. And about 2 or 2.5 years ago, we thought we were still outside the top 10 in terms of every month how many policies get sold. We think we are roughly at about number 4 or number 5 at the moment in terms of people buying insurance every month. Who do they buy it from? We think we are roughly at number 4 or number 5 in terms of new policies. Now, obviously, that means we're not nearly as big as the big established players yet, because for those that have been around for 15 or 20 or 100 years, in the case of some of them, obviously they've built up a portfolio over a long time. But we are slightly ahead of our target in terms of where we want it to be by now. And if things continue the way they are going at the moment, and we hope they do, if they continue, then within 5 to 10 years, we will be one of the top 3 biggest personal line short-term insurers.
Awesome. And we recently had problems in South Africa, the unrest that happened. Then there were also some floods that happened. Did it in any way impact on your business?
Absolutely. Those both those incidences of floods and unrest had a significant effect. Obviously, even more so on commercial businesses and big factories and the like. But there were definitely people with cars and homes and other private possessions that were affected. What I can say is we are very fortunate in South Africa that we've got 2 good sources of extra protection. The first is SASRIA. So that is the state-owned insurance entity that covers riots and any politically driven risks or events. So things like war or riots or that sort of thing. So every month when you're paying, for example, 400 Rand premium for car insurance, we take 2 or 3 Rand of that and we give it to Sasria on your behalf. So everybody that buys insurance in South Africa is automatically buying Sasria as well. And the fact that when an event happens like we had with the riots, the state-owned Sasria was very, very good, both in terms of responding to their contractual obligation in terms of paying those claims, but also practically just, I mean, they hadn't had claims for a very long time because we were fortunate. But when the day came, they were very good at settling those claims and getting the things in place sort of procedurally for those claims to be settled really quickly. So the first thing that we're fortunate we have is Sasria. The second thing we have is international reinsurers. So every insurance company, you charge premiums thinking what level of claims you are going to have on average in a given year. But of course, if a catastrophe happens, like a big flood or a big hailstorm, then the level of damage is beyond what you can afford on your own. And so what every insurance company does is to buy reinsurance cover to protect against catastrophes. And the majority of those reinsurance companies are based in Europe, although there are some of them based elsewhere in the world. But South Africa has some of the best local representation of international reinsurance firms giving protection to South African businesses. And so again, when we had big storm damage in the last year or two, all those reinsurance businesses were very, very good at very quickly paying the insurance companies the amount that they were liable for, enabling the insurance companies to ultimately settle the claims to the public.
Great stuff. Also, I understand you have raised about 500 million rand since the company launched 5 years ago. If you can just tell us who are your biggest funders, and are you still in the process of looking for more funding, or for now you're sorted?
So it's really been in sort of 3 stages to date. Our initial investors were a private equity firm called Yellowwoods and Hollard Insurance Company. From an equity perspective, our products are also underwritten by Hollard, but that is independent from the fact that they were an equity investment in our seed stage, right in the beginning. And we're really fortunate to have had those 2 investors right from day one. We subsequently then raised our first external round of investment from Naspers. At that stage, they were using the Naspers Foundry vehicle to invest in startups. And so we raised a significant amount of capital from Naspers for the first time that we went to an external investor outside of our 2 seed investors. And then last year, we raised for the first time from international investors. And that investment was led by the IFC, which is a member of the World Bank. And a related entity is called the DEG, which is similar to the German Development Bank. And so those 2 international investors invested last year predominantly because they see us as an exciting tech business, building technology that's cutting edge and could potentially be rolled out across the world, but also because of the fact that they resonate with the social impact that our business is having. So both those 2 entities were invested for that dual purpose of our technology, but also our social impact. At the moment, we are not actively looking for more investors. There is a chance that at some stage we would need to raise more capital, both because insurance is expensive to grow. As you said, there's lots of money that needs to go into advertising. But more importantly, we are still not our own full insurance company yet. We don't have our products are still underwritten by Hollard. And at some stage in future, we are going to migrate away from that arrangement. At some stage in future, we want to register as a full insurance company. And in order to do that, the local regulator requires a significant capital buffer. And that capital buffer will need to be probably sourced through equity funding. There's a couple of other possibilities through reinsurance support and the like, but most likely we will be raising again some money sometime in future, but that's not urgent at that stage, given that we recently raised.
How much would that be, the capital buffer?
It's a complex calculation that a whole bunch of actuaries do, and then it gets reviewed by the regulator, that sort of thing. So it depends on the particulars of your own business and how risky your business is. Something like personal lines car insurance is less risky because the assets we're insuring are worth less than, say, for example, somebody that insures factories and that sort of thing. The ballpark that you're looking at is a minimum of 200 or 300 million rand. So that's obviously a substantial amount that the regulator requires you to have as extra capital above and beyond the operational capital that you need. But that's just the ballpark. The actual calculation is quite complex, actually.
I wish you could explain to me further how this comes. Yeah, that's fine. Maybe looking at your growth prospects, what plans do you have to actually scale your business further? Are you only focused on the South African market, or you have got plans to go international?
Yeah, the geographical expansion question is an interesting one. I think the first thing to say is that insurance regulations are extremely complex, and so jumping from one geography to another adds a big layer of complexity to a business. And so obviously we know the South African market really well, and we've been able to navigate the system of regulation in South Africa. And regulation is important because insurance and financial services products need to be regulated to protect the consumer. And we understand the South African market and South African regulations really well. It's unlikely that we'll be in another country soon, because just making that jump to comply with all the local rules and regulations is a big one. And so we won't rush that, but it's not impossible that we'll do it at some point. Our focus at the moment is really saying we've proven the model in South Africa with the fairly little advertising that we've done compared to some of the big insurers. What we want to do now is make this a household name. We want to get this product out there to everybody in South Africa buying or needing car and home insurance. We want to reach them. That includes a big portion of uninsured people. There's a scary stat in South Africa that 2 out of 3 cars on the road are not insured because people don't have the financial ability to insure those cars. But equally, there are lots of other assets where people have a smartphone, or people have a small flat with contents, and people are not insuring those things. So we think there's a big uninsured population in South Africa that we can reach easier than a traditional business with a high cost basis. So because our business is tech driven, we think we can reach them easier. So our big ambition is really to keep building innovative technology. I mean, everybody, all your listeners would know how exciting the future is in terms of what AI is doing. ChatGPT, similar kinds of things, is opening up so many opportunities. And for our business, I mean, it's been core to what we've been building over the last 5 or 6 years. But now, as the AI exponentially gets better, it creates the opportunity for us to really, really innovate at an even quicker pace. So our focus is in South Africa, reaching especially people that enjoy the convenience and the cost saving of a digital experience as opposed to a traditional experience. We think there's a big market that we can still reach, and so that will be our focus in the next couple of years.
Awesome. So are we going to see ChatGPT on Naked?
We have a bot called Rose at the moment, and over the last couple of weeks, it's been refreshing to see how many people still say they prefer speaking to the Naked Insurance bot Rose because she's friendlier than ChatGPT.
Is it?
So I think she's got more personality, and I think she's still a bit smarter than ChatGPT. So we've got some competition going.
Okay, that's great to hear. And also, as a startup company, I'm sure like the big insurance companies are starting to notice that you are doing something that is different from them. And I understand the bigger ones will come knocking on your door to like maybe buy out proposals or something along those lines? Have you ever received something along those lines, like a bigger company trying to acquire you?
I think the reason let me explicitly answer your question by saying no. That's not the case. And I think the reason we are not open to that is that we, especially the three of us that started Naked, had spent a long career inside insurance. And we had a very, very clear vision and a very clear purpose for starting this business. And selling this business to an established insurer would defeat that purpose and would not enable us to realize that the potential of why this business exists. This business exists to innovate in terms of the technology that we use and to keep innovating and to give consumer experiences that are unmatched to anything a big business can deliver. And so for us, now 5 years in, having the confidence that the public is responding well and that the effort we've put into building this technology is worth it in terms of getting the consumer that experience and that benefit that they need, we're even more confident than we were 5 years ago that it is worth continuing on this journey. And so I think it's something that we are not open to just because we are that excited about what this mission and the purpose of this business is. And we still have a long way to go, but we're excited that we're closer to fully realizing that vision. And that's important for the three of us that started this business. It's important for the people that invested in this business right up front. We told them that this is the vision. The vision is not to make a quick buck and sell it. And it's important for all the people that work at Naked. This is not just a job. This is an opportunity to build technology that genuinely changes the lives of people in South Africa and potentially overseas. And we want to keep delivering on that promise of creating a space where you can build that technology. And selling Naked to a big insurance company now would be the opposite of that. So we're excited about the opportunity to keep building something new.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Ernest. Maybe if you can just, lastly, just tell us more about your other partners, the co-founders of Naked Insurance. Like, how have you guys met, and how do you continue like building this amazing product as people who have known each other for a while now?
Yeah, so we're really fortunate that three of us came together and had been working together for a long time, and then came together again at the right time when the opportunity for Naked came about. Alex Thompson and Sumeri Schreiber were the head of an actuarial consulting firm. That actuarial consulting firm was servicing many of the big insurers in South Africa. They then subsequently sold that business to Ernst & Young, and then they became the head of Ernst & Young's actuarial consulting. And I worked with them for a little while in that business before I worked for another insurance company. And the three of us just wanted to do something that was more than the numbers of insurance. We grew up and we were trained to do the numbers of how to calculate the insurance premium and how to manage the risk of an insurance company and how to invest the money of an insurance company. And increasingly, as our careers grew and as all three of us got older, we realized that we weren't really that proud of the products that were out there. And we were helping people build products and run products, and actually we weren't proud of whether those products were actually delivering value. And as we dug deeper as to why that was, we came across this realization that we needed to build something from scratch. There was this fundamental need to build a technology business that is independent of any technology that existed before it. And the three of us came together and decided to do that. Now, we were fortunate that very quickly we could recruit a whole bunch of young, dynamic, smart people to help us build that technology. But the three of us still to this day are working together very closely on designing and managing those products that is all about delivering value, but doing it so leveraging technology and doing it in a transparent manner. So for the most part, the three of us don't have formal job titles that limits us as to what we do.
Yeah.
We try and find something innovative or interesting to do in the day. Most days we overlap in terms of some of the stuff that we get involved in, but on the days that we don't overlap, I spend most of my time sort of thinking about how to tell the Naked story and how to expose more people to the benefits of Naked. Sumari spends most of her day executing on the delivery of our operations, especially our claims processes. Those things are complex, and so managing those claims processes and managing customer support, that sort of thing, Sumari runs most of that. And then Alex is more involved in the overall strategy of our business in terms of how can we optimize the use of technology in building the future versions of what Naked is, and growing Naked. So part of our growth plans is which market should we be in, who should invest in this business, that sort of thing. And Alex runs that side of the business. So the three of us are really grateful for the opportunity to work together, and we like any good marriage, you have to fight a little bit every now and then, and then you get the real things out of your system. But then you kiss and make up, and the three of us are really, really grateful that this is the business that allows us to still be actuaries, but is a business that allows us to be passionate about what we do, and so we're really grateful for this journey.
And how big is your team now? How many employees do you now
We've
have?
got about 100 employees at the moment. A big portion of those are software developers / data scientists / actuarial developers. Those three job titles have mushed very much, and there's no one person that does only one thing. So there's a whole bunch of people that sort of work in that field of data science and coding and actuarial mathematics. But obviously a portion of those are also in-house customer support agents to speak to real people when they need human assistance.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Ernest, for coming to ITWeb to have this interesting discussion.
Thank you very much for having me on your show, and I appreciate the opportunity to be chatting to you again, and especially the fact that we spoke to each other 4 or 5 years ago.
Yes.
And maybe you were a bit skeptical about Naked's chances back then. So I'm grateful to be around 5 years later to be talking to you again, and for your listeners and your readers. Obviously, people enjoying ITWeb is the ideal audience for us in terms of people that enjoy Naked. So thank you for the opportunity. It's really good to be chatting to you again.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Ernest.